welcome back to the LCS Report. I'm Rob, he's Nick, and we always ask the age-old question. Nick, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm still sort of reeling from the outcomes of this weekend.
Yeah.
So I almost so it almost feels as excited I am to talk about this. I almost feel like I need to like therapeutic wise to like really fully process what we just witnessed this past weekend. So I'm not sure how you're feeling. I see you got your Team Liquid jersey on, so maybe
I
good.
I no, I mean I wanted C9 to win. You know that. I said I may not even watch MSI if
Fair.
Team Liquid win, but I will back that up and say this. I think that Team Liquid were the best overall team in playoffs. And what I mean by that is maybe like you idiot, of course they are. They just won the LCS. But like what I mean is like they came together as a team better than anybody else. And that's why they won. Like we have officially hit the age. I think this is and I've been thinking about saying this to you since this all went down. So bear with me. I'm gonna keep this like less than 2 minutes, hopefully. But I think that we are officially in the age of Team League of Legends trumps all. Doesn't matter how good the rest of your team is, doesn't matter who the best player is, doesn't even matter who the best strategist is. If you play as a team, you are going to win at least in the LCS. We'll see if that is the same way at MSI. Seems kind of that way also in the LEC. But that is just something that you and I have talked about before. I think we have seen it. And I think that this also confirms that best of series are better. We are seeing that right now. Like truly, like this,
Yeah.
like this playoffs was an amalgamation of all the bad things that we had seen from best of ones, from roster building, from mindsets of teams, from the way that even teams go about playing the game. This
Right.
Team Liquid subverted all expectations. They did, I think, Spawn in particular, along with the veterans and the rookies, like they all just mixed so perfectly that this team won the LCS. Now, I don't know what that's going to mean for MSI. I still am not overly confident in this team at MSI, and we will go over that and discuss that another week. But I do believe that in the LCS, if you have the better team play, you're going to win. And I can't say if that's good or bad for the LCS, because you could argue it's bad. But that was something to watch. That was just such an interesting, incredible. The fact that Team Liquid went 6-1 to win finals over this weekend was pretty crazy. So those are my thoughts. Those are my initial thoughts.
Mm, gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we can get into it if you want to start with just Team Liquid's success before we get into the matchups. Uh, I do think that they played. Yeah, they were the best League of Legends team in terms of coordination. I think what you said is true, and also, I think it's, I think it's like it's been the case for about 5 years or so, but it becomes more and more true every year.
True.
Like
True.
the way that the game continues to evolve towards team based play, like we see it matter more and more. And I think that like you see that in ways where a team that the team that was firing on all cylinders, their synergy was working everywhere. It wasn't like they had like one play or
Yep.
like one like group, one like one or not one guy, but like even just having like two people like carry like be able to carry your team is sometimes not enough now. It's why what Milky Way is doing in the LPL is so amazing. He's actually like 1v9 in games. It's not supposed to really be possible. Faker's not doing
Nope.
it. you know, so that being said, I will say Team Liquid also had some, I think, pretty big individual step ups.
Oh, big
APA
time.
was fantastic this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
This past weekend, Yon for basically all of playoffs was a much better player. Umti was
Way better.
spectacular. Impact was insane. Impact in core played some incredibly legends. And I think that a lot of that was, and I'll get more into this into the matchup. I think as much as team play made a difference in the finals, a lot of what made the team play superior was a stepping up individually from different members of the team of the squads at different points. And I was able to speak with Core JJ and Whippo after the finals as well,
Oh,
and got a
nice.
few
Okay.
insights from them. But yeah, really spectacular for Team Liquid. Obviously not what we expected. But I was saying, I'm like, I'm happy to be wrong on my playoff predictions if it creates like a great storyline. And I had gotten every series right until this point. I had forget Team Liquid winning the finals. I didn't have them making it.
Yeah.
So
Neither of us
I
did.
think you actually you said that they three get 2 games off of C9,
Mm-hmm.
and I said no. I think they just get one. Like so, like I definitely really underestimated them, and I feel like for a team that we've been relatively critical of, no team has directly addressed every weakness and like made it better, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the team, like you said, the team play growth of like Team Liquid needs to play early game. Oh, okay, loud and clear, Chief, and then they're the best early game team in the league. All of a sudden, like the bot lane is an incredible point of strength. is the best early game jungler. Impact is solo killing people. Like it's 2016. Like it was really nice to see them really kind of shore up all of their issues. And they were the only team that really did that. Like, and you made the point about best of series. They benefited a lot from that. Like Team Liquid
Yeah.
played 19 games in the last 2 weeks after playing 14 games for the first 3 months of the year.
And it was better
So
League of Legends. All the teams got better. Literally all of
yeah,
them.
and you learn more from best ofs and just period. Like also, like it's more games. Like just if you even can consider them isolated singular games, they had more experience in the last 2 weeks than the previous entire year on stage.
Yeah.
And that plays a huge part, especially when you're talking about guys like guys like Umpty, who's clearly a great player, but didn't really have the greatest synergy with his teammates. Not that wasn't his fault, but like we didn't really see this team click in the way that they did in playoffs. And sometimes
Mm-hmm.
that's just like reps and like allowing these guys to like figure themselves out. It's not that the team was bad; it's that in a best of three, maybe Team Liquid hits their stride mid-season, right? Because there's just more games to play, and they finished top two, and we were talking about them as the favorite, and this is the expected result. We don't know,
Yeah.
like because we judge things in such a small sample size of best ones. I barely remember anything from what like what I tried to learn in college, mathematically speaking. That's really where I hit my peak mathematically.
Yeah.
But I remember in statistics, which I barely passed, that
Same.
they which is weird because like stats in sports, like I love doing stats, but academically, forget about it. But the point is that one of the things I remember is that like in statistical terms, like the a sample size is not reliable until it's at least 30. And as the sample size is n must equal 30 for it to be like considered like a valuable experiment or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
and there's only one team who played over 30 games. I looked at everything who played over 30 games so far in 2024, and they're the guys who hosted the trophy this weekend. And I think that's not taking anything away from them. They did great, and I'm just like, maybe we give our teams more time to develop, and then we're not so surprised by these playoff results because maybe this is like clearly like they're the best team, like you said. They just hit their stride at the right time because they needed time to gel, and it was really cool to see. But I think it always goes back to the best of ones being extremely misleading. And I think a lot of people realized that more with the result this weekend because this was one of the more, I'd say, unexpected finals results. Like NRG versus C9 was surprising for sure last year, but
Mm-hmm.
for the past few years, I feel like finals, at least in matchups, have been relatively expected, even if the result didn't necessarily go the way.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's a good thing. I mean, I think like there's a lot of parity in this region, whereas like like you said, we'll talk about MSI a bit more, as we get closer. But everyone's already talking about TL versus G2 because of course they are, and G2 I think is very good, but also G2 has not been challenged. Like TL has been battle tested through these
Yep.
past few weeks, especially, and really the whole split where we had them like, yeah, they're in fifth, but are they even better than Shopify? Like that sounds crazy to say now. You know what I mean?
I put them at sixth in
So
my power rankings going into
right, yeah,
playoffs.
yeah, but I mean, they really it was kind of like, well, unless they do all of these things, they're going to have some problems. And then they literally did every single thing. They did every single thing that we had issues with, and then individually players either returned, like Core JJ became Core JJ again. That was a big part of it. And Impact, we've been talking all year about how Impact can play more than just weak side, and we should
They
let
finally
Team
let
Liquid let
him.
him see that. And then, oh my God, he was a monster. Like nobody came close in playoffs to him in top lane. I feel like it was just. I haven't seen like this level of gap Impact's had over the rest of the pool since legit like C9 2016, where he got like 15 solo kills in one weekend or something like that. Um, it's just honestly a really spectacular run. Congratulations to Team Liquid. I just really wanted to give them their flowers before we get into any more details because we were critical of them because we could see like C9, we could see like this team could be more than what they are right now, but they're not checking the right boxes. And then they just addressed everything. And I think like lots of credit to Spawn and the Team Liquid coaching staff. Rainover knows a lot of these players very well. And Spawn is clearly, I mean, just an incredible head coach. Like he's seems so measured, and I mean, all their problems were fixed. No other team can say that, and that's why they're where they are.
Yeah, and I think that it's worth noting that sometimes I wish we could go back and like vote on coach of the split and stuff like that later because I think that the job that he did and the willingness to stick by his guys, right? Because like at any point they could have looked elsewhere with APA. They could have looked elsewhere with whoever, right? And I know was doing better than most people think, but at the same time, he just wasn't gelling, right? So they could have easily just kind of, let that ship sail. And he didn't, and he stuck with them. And, I hate beating a dead horse, but seriously, man, like, you got to have more games. I mean, this is the prime example of why you need more games. You just do. I mean, these kinds of results are the thing that I think show how important it is. I mean, it's not to take anything away from FlyQuest from having a great season, right? From 100 Thieves, who went 10-4. That was awesome for them. Even for Cloud9 finding their way back, right? But like these young guys that were so quick to judge and these veterans that were so quick to judge, the whole team, but I was specifically focused on the young guys, got better because they got more reps, like you said, right? Practice makes perfect. And the best practice is in games.
Stage games. And it is a different environment.
Yeah.
It just is. Like
everybody
there's level of experience you don't get. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just it's why 100 Thieves were struggling in scrims, but kicked ass on stage, right? Like it's just crazy to me that this conversation continues to be had and people wonder why NA isn't better. Like, sure, all Champions Queue and moving times and whatever.
There's plenty of other problems.
There are problems,
sure.
but and those are reasons that they could maybe get better. But there is nothing that will directly help this region get better and more entertaining than playing more freaking games. There's just not.
Play more League of Legends. Simply play more League of Legends. Yep.
Yeah, it's very easy. It's a very easy fix. So, definitely got to give Team Liquid their flowers, like you said. I mean, it was incredible to watch. Like, every single thing that they needed to do, like you said. But, like, specifically, I really just loved the way that these veterans kind of morphed around the young guys.
Mm-hmm.
And the positioning of Jan and APA, I mean, it's like night and day
Way
watching
better.
this. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I was looking through these games again, and I believe there's only one game, maybe two, where APA dies more than once.
Yep. And he got Finals MVP because he died. He died, I think, like 4 times in their loss, but in their wins against FlyQuest, he only died once that whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, because he died. So he died a total of, so it's 4 times in that game, or in that series. Okay, so he died 8 times. So he died 13 times in, what was this? 7 games. Not even twice a game. And that was like everybody's biggest critique. He wasn't dying in side lanes.
And a massive improvement. He had a lot. He had the most deaths of any mid laner by a pretty wide margin in the regular season, despite being on a team that did better than, like, they were, like, I think both Mask and Insanity, for example, like, had better had less deaths, even though they were on teams who won less. Positioning was a big issue for him, and also he beat the champion pool allegations. You can't say he didn't. Like,
He brought out a freaking Tristana against JoJo in game 2.
well,
That's
Tristana, I mean,
insane.
it allows him to have priority in lane while, it's like, oh, his positioning's a problem. Cool. He has like 4 different forms of self-peel and he can jump out if he wants to. Like, and not to mention, like, it's like, oh, he's just a two-trick, just ban him out. Okay, then he plays Talia. Oh, then you ban Talia. Oh, then he plays Tristana. Okay, now you're banning 4 champions. Like, when you're not, he doesn't need to be the best player on his team or have the deepest pockets. When you're playing with guys like Core JJ and Impact, like, you don't need the deepest pockets. What you need is like 4 solid picks, and he showed that his Talia was great in the last few matches. Like, absolutely, like, just way better than I've seen him play it before.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, the Tristana was really good and played to his natural strengths while covering for his weaknesses. And he doesn't need to be perfect, especially when Jan's positioning, I think, was vastly improved.
Oh, it was insanely better.
I think APA's got better, but Jan specifically, I got to shout out because there was one Varus game against FlyQuest, I think, the first week where he got cut out a bit. But ever since that, he's been so crisp. And I don't know how good of a laner he is on his own necessarily, but whatever he and Core JJ have been doing, I mean, I think Vulcan said opening week, he's like, everybody needs to watch out. Like, they're the best bot lane in the LCS right now. And he was right. Absolutely. They just look, I mean, Jan he was just amazing through playoffs. And yeah, like like you said, like a lot of these weaknesses were shored up. And I want to go back to one of your points about, like, I wish we could almost do coach of the split after in playoffs, because in the best ofs, you see so much more of what coaches get. They get a week to prepare, first of all. Yep. So you really see what adjustments teams make when they actually have some more data to go off of as well. In between games. And the way that we saw like adjustments from them and the drafts, and there was a lot of good innovation. Like, the drafts were very consistent. I can't really think of a specific a game that points out to me where Team Liquid just straight up into the draft either. Like, they were like as opposed to, for example, I thought FlyQuest Team Liquid game 1 draft, like FlyQuest kind of into that draft personally, but it's not to take away anything from the FlyQuest coaching staff or the 100 Thieves coaching staff, who definitely deserve the award, but for all the praises we're singing of the players, I'm glad you brought up the fact that, like, the coaching staff for Team Liquid, like, really, really, like, showed their worth throughout this run. I mean, and they took the long way around, man. Like, lower bracket, they played as many games as they could, just about. Like, they played as many matches as they could, and they had some 3-0s and 3-1s along the way. But I mean, still, we've seen that before. That type of battle testing can really, really help a team, become who they became. I think who we thought they would be. Yeah. And then also we saw, like, Core JJ and Impact turn the clock back a lot individually, and that really strengthened the team. Like, the synergy worked out, and then the young guys fixed up some positioning and champion pool stuff, but also, like, those veteran players look like Core said to me, he's like, oh, I feel like I'm playing the same way. I'm like, okay, dude, like, you're not. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, he's like, yeah, I just feel like the team's playing better. I'm like, okay, maybe there's something about the way he plays where it's like he looks like, I don't know the finer points of support. Maybe there's the thing where he looks worse, especially worse because of how important he is to the team being on the same page. But I thought he was individually just completely. I thought this spring was like the worst I've seen him play in LCS, and then
easily
this playoffs might have been like legitimately the best like playoffs run I've ever seen him have, just consistency wise. He didn't have a single game I thought where he was like, oh yeah, Core JJ was the problem there. Like, he was so good.
I just think their communication obviously got better, and I think that's like, again, that's the whole team atmosphere type thing. Like, they trusted in whoever was making the calls, right? And they all followed up, and that was something that they were so disjointed at different points during the season. And I think that's where things really changed for me. I will say too, the general was leading his troops out there, man. I mean, he was at the front of every fight. It felt like he was making plays consistently. I personally may have given him MVP, not to take anything away from APA. I mean, again, we both
for finals.
APA. Yeah.
No, a lot of people felt that way. I think it was between the two of them.
Yeah, I just think he was. And that just shows, I mean, their mid-jungle duo was not anything I was even considering going in, and that's why I had them so low. As I was like, man, there are a lot of better mid-jungle duos. Now I don't know. And it's like, this is, like, there's just so much to say about this. And I think, guys, we will get into some Cloud9 and FlyQuest, but, like, this team, for me, kind of restores it restored me and my, I guess, thought process with the LCS, because I was ready for C9 and FlyQuest to go. I would have obviously loved for them to both go. I'm still up in the air again. I said, I think at the beginning, on how I feel about where TL are going to be once we get to MSI. But we're seeing just such an interesting build work, and to see such passion. Like, dude, when Umpty started like crying, I was elated. I was so, it changed my entire perspective of this team to see that. I'm not kidding you. It did. Because I just didn't, like, they were the shit talkers, which I love, by the way. I love that. Like, they've become like the lovable villains to me of the LCS right now. Like, I know the villains are technically Cloud9 probably right now, but like
TL are the anti-heroes, if
maybe,
you will.
yeah, maybe they actually are the anti-heroes, because they're just,
Yeah.
yeah, they're like the Deadpools maybe of the LCS, right? Where they're just shit talking their way, they're backing it up, right? And it's like Core JJ,
Yeah.
like, you gotta remember, like, when things were really going south last split with this team, they could have abandoned APA and Yon. They really could have. Team Liquid's one of the very few orgs that probably has like a stable amount of money to actually be able to go and do stuff. So
Yeah.
not that they can do a ton, because nobody in esports really has a ton of money, but like them and C9 to me and FlyQuest are really the only ones that are clearly relatively stable at this moment, financially, right? And so they could have gone out and gotten more well-known mid laner, more well-known AD carry, potentially better, based on, I don't know, whatever your perspective is. But they believed in them. And then like for Core JJ to go, like, he backs it up, right? To like show how much he believed in APA after finals, to me was like, again, it just like, it really was
Yeah.
restorative to me, because it's like, we need what they are in the LCS, right? Like, Cloud9 are the villains, like they're the big bad empire currently right now, right? But like, we need a team that is going to make things fun and interesting to watch, right? And like, they're showing chat now because of this team. For years they
Yeah.
wouldn't show
And
chat.
yeah.
They wouldn't say anything about it, right? Now, like, oh, what's APA gonna say? What's, Jan
Yeah.
gets up there and he fucking, the first thing he says is
Yeah.
like, for the amount of trash these guys talk, like, they just weren't really essentially able to back it up, right? Like, and I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
love that. Like, I want that. That is where you can still have the entertainment value that the LCS wants, right? While still also getting more games and more value. Like you can't create rivalries by playing a team 4 times a year, right? Like, that just doesn't
Right.
that just doesn't really happen unless if you're in the NFL, and that's because it's got like 60 years of 70 to 80 years, of leeway, or of time compared to the LCS, right? Like, there's just like those rivalries have built themselves over decades and decades of time. They need to just, this needs to be like the beginning point, right? The new bottom lowest level that the LCS can go, and just start pushing, like, push APA, push Jan, push like Umpty, right? Blast them everywhere. Create this rivalry between them and FlyQuest and them and C9, and like, get Sniper out there talking shit about people, right? Like, just lift all these young guys up, especially like, look, I love the import players. I know there are some people who think that I'm an import hater. I'm not. But I do know that for LCS to be successful, we need to have good young NA players. We just have
Yeah.
to. Like, there's just no other like reason behind it.
Yeah.
Push APA, push Jan, and push Sniper, right? Just throw them out there. Get them on as many things as you can. The one thing that the Overwatch League did really, really well was they marketed themselves well. The LCS, League of Legends as a whole, Riot Games as a whole, genuinely is one of the worst marketing gaming companies, especially for their size, that I've ever seen. They truly just go based on word of mouth. Scrap that shit, Mark Z. Get these guys on freaking talk shows. Seriously, get them on anything you can. I mean, hell, we don't like to talk about the S name guy, obviously from Overwatch and Valorant, but they got him in Super on the freaking, like, I think it was Jimmy Kimmel or something like that, right? I can't
Yeah.
remember.
They had that with Jake and Raucus in the first year too. I
Yeah,
will say, I
I want to
mean,
see
that
it.
was I have to imagine a good amount of funding was was had to do with that. But
For sure.
I do agree with your point. I mean, also like if we're talking like young names, C9 struggles aside, JoJo was great all spring,
JoJo
and
was great too. Yeah, obviously
he's in
JoJo.
his third
But
season. He's still
yeah,
only 19, he's 19 years old. I think he's just turning 19 now. It's like so like
yeah.
there is like and it's like you said, these both teams in the finals were teams who were able to integrate import players in a very good way, and also these imports either had experience playing in LCS, like inspired in Blippo, or in Umpty's English is very very good.
Oh, it was insane.
And he's just, I mean, his person. He's definitely. I mean, if he wants to stay here, we should keep him. And I mean, he's great for the league, and he also, we were talking like I think the biggest on Rift change we saw Team Liquid make was the fact that they were playing the early game,
Mm-hmm.
and he was a part of all. I mean, he was getting Volibear permaban from him by the end of the playoffs because it was like their early game was like a whole nother tier up with him on that champion.
Mm-hmm.
His Lee Sin was fantastic. Like we saw who he wanted to be for this team, and it worked out so well. And I know that APA got a lot of flack for like his trash talk, especially when he had some like poor plays. But like, I think I might have mentioned this last episode. Like, it seems like it's a tactical advantage if you're like frustrating the other team. It's like,
Yep.
wow, you guys are really validating this. Like, if like, and like even Jensen said, he's like, it's annoying when a player who's not good talks shit. And like you said about developing rivalries, I think APA did that for us with just like with I mean, we saw Impact get a bit in on the smack talk when he was really going off in playoffs, which was fun. And I love what Core JJ said. Like he was like, if you want to trash talk, you have to be as good as this guy because APA
Yes.
he really did step up and back it up with better play. But I think the main thing is like a couple things that that, like again, if it's working for you, if it's getting in people's heads, it's like he's already won the battle. Like this is clearly not affecting him at all.
No.
Like it doesn't matter to him at all. This is nothing. He's not thinking about this when he goes to sleep. Like he just seems very like resilient in that kind of way. And I thought if you're talking about rivalries, I think APA and JoJo Pion is so much fun because APA is the only guy who, it's not just that he thinks he's as good as JoJo. He's like, JoJo's not a good mage player. He's like, he doesn't play mage as well. That's like his thing. And he sort of outperformed him on mages. And it was there was kind of a cool moment on Twitter. I'm not sure if anybody caught that I wanted to call out because however you feel about APA's play, even against C9, where I felt like he wasn't super better than JoJo, but against FlyQuest, I thought he was very good.
Yeah.
And JoJo tweeted APA redemption going crazy. And after the series, APA replied, "Learned from you," which I thought was I think some people may have taken it as like he was like talking smack, and I don't see it that way. I thought it was that if you remember last year, we talked, JoJo's been so good, we forget that his spring last year was pretty bad.
It was
by
horrible.
his own standard. Like he was like the best mid laner in the league for. He's been the best mid laner in the league for the last like 2 years, except for that split. And it was not good. He was dying in side lanes a lot. Just not the same guy. He had kind of a sophomore slump, and then in summer, I would say to date, it's the best he's ever played. Even I thought he was really really good this split too. But EG Summer, his MVP split, is still like insane form, right? So I think we're in a place where like not only does JoJo really want to beat this guy, but now he like
he respects him too.
Yeah, it's like when like like when Naruto learns how to fight, and like Sasuke has to respect him.
Yeah.
It's like oh, this is a worthy adversary.
Dude, that is
it's
such a great comparison because he like makes Sasuke respect him by just having to continuously fight, get his ass kicked, and then finally beating him. That's
I'm just saying,
hell
like,
of a comparison right there.
And because he was like, and because APA believed in himself, he said, I think it was when TL beat like 100 Thieves, he was like, we're going all the way to the finals, like we're gonna win the whole thing, and it's like, it's like, for whatever happens internationally, Team Liquid has undeniably made the LCS better on and off the Rift.
True.
In the last 2 weeks, and we are lucky for that. We are very fortunate to have that. And, in a league that has a lot of parity, we're like, I don't think TL's like, I mean, you have to consider them the favorite to win summer no matter what happens. I think that's fair. But like,
I don't know yet.
Like what?
I don't know if I'm there yet.
Okay. Then that further proves my point, right? Is that like, this is a league with a lot of parity. Like,
yeah,
get those rivalries in there. And like, I don't know. I'm way more, I don't know. As someone who's watched the LCS forever, I'm so happy. I'm so happy they're showing all chat. Like, And I
Yes.
think it's great. And it's like, I think there are a lot of people who are like, I wonder how, Core JJ feels about, APA doing all this. And clearly, like, it's like the team is in support of it and very much like, hey, if you're like, he's playing well, he's doing his part. So I just, it, yeah, just it really, really, it's a very, very just interesting shift in how we're perceiving some of these players. Like, where APA is like the dude now. And it's like he was just like, he's been battle
Dogged.
tested and just criticized. And I think like, in valid ways, I thought his spring split was not amazing.
No.
And it really, really was cool to see him like definitely improve and step up, but also like, keep the same energy. Like, and it's funny seeing the influence. There was a little I don't know if it was a direct influence, but it sure seemed like it. Where when SK Gaming, I think it was SK Gaming, was in playoffs in the LEC. Uh, when they went to someone's camera, he had like already been off stage. Like I'm pretty sure he walked off stage as the Nexus was dying, and if that's that's one of APA's things that I want to ask him about. I'm not sure if anyone has. So for all the trash talk he talks in game, nobody's off the stage faster than that guy when the Nexus explodes. He gets up, boom, done, all back in business. Like it's just it's really interesting because it's nice to see more not just personality, but like how that factors into things as a baseball person, as like
Yes.
superstition is a thing.
Yep.
Plate rituals, some guys tap all the corners of home plate with their bat before they actually see their first pitch, and
Yep.
that all that stuff. And it's I don't know, the off stage meta, the like in like off out of game but on stage meta is evolving, Rob.
Well, and that's
It's
it's
becoming a thing.
so great because all right, God, we are in sync today. I just want you to know because what I was gonna say is there are two things. One, we're getting more quirk, right? More personality, right? Like and the LCS I think has really suffered from like there's like one or maybe two guys that have personality. They're normally older. Once Double Lift and Bjergsen left, it kind of felt like that even though I know Bjergsen wasn't as animated at times, he was still a personality, right?
He's a megastar.
Yeah, he
Like
was a megastar. Yeah,
yeah,
truly.
like
Every region knew who he was. Everybody cared about him, right? I'm not saying that APA is that, to be clear. Not yet, at least. That would be great if he somehow figured that out. But
yeah.
my
Like
point
they're not the same. Like APA's won a title with Team Liquid, for example.
rough.
I'm
But
kidding.
but my
Bjerg is the GOAT. I'm joking.
Bjerg is the goat. God, I miss him so much. Oh, what a oh, could you imagine if he just came back after a full year off? Oh my, I would cry. I'm not kidding you. I think I would cry.
I think he's done.
Oh, I think
And
he's done too.
I think it's okay. I don't know.
I want him back. They need to get him get him
that's
on
a
the
double lift
broadcast,
move, man.
Get him on the
That would
broadcast.
be cool. That would be cool. I think he'd be good on that.
Regardless.
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail you. I didn't mean to
No,
derail
you're
your
fine.
point.
You're
I just
fine.
had to make that joke.
It's fair. But I do think that like it's interesting because we've gone through the eras of like no chat, right? When they finally started allowing emotes in game, if you remember, right? Because they blocked them for so long, even though players were using them, we just couldn't see them. And then now they're even going to the point where they're showing all chat, right? And it's just like the evolution of the on and off stage meta has truly been interesting to see how these players do things. And I like that. I want to see that ritual because then like if something's wrong, right? APA didn't get off the stage right away. Something's up. He's arguing with somebody or something's not going right. Like I want to see more of that. I want to see more stuff like that. And I want to see these players be more than just like I sit down, I play, and then I go leave. And then I do interviews. Like freaking like when they're meeting in the hallway, I want to see somebody yell at somebody, right? Like what was it? Didn't Sven do something to somebody where he like just didn't shake their hand like 2 years ago?
I was just
like
thinking
that?
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sven and Jan had
That's
banter
right. Yeah, it was
because
Sven and Jan. Yeah, that's right.
because Jan had said something in game about
Yes.
like I can't remember what it was like. It's like I can't remember what it was, but I think it was like it was like our academy team like does dragons better or something like that.
I
like
love that. God.
yeah, and then Sven like just curbed his handshake after C9 won that game.
Oh yeah.
And it's funny because like people are like, oh, they hate each other. I'm like, no, that's just like have you guys watched a basketball game in your life? That's just like competitive banter and beef. Like
exactly.
Sven and Jan were on a talk show last week. together. Like they're fine, but like that's
Yeah.
it's that stuff that helps makes it entertaining. It heightens. I don't know. Like, are we not watching this to be entertained? Because
Well,
there's other things we could be doing. Like it's like that's why I don't know. I really like when I'm glad that we're leaning into the fact that that's happening more and that players we are fortunate enough to have new personalities take that mantle of Double Lift, who was like, say what you want about him, all-time legendary trash talker, and very often domestically backed it up by beating your ass and then
yeah.
saying he's like, you're garbage and I'm going to beat you, and then he did it
Yeah,
like
and we
multiple
need
times. So
it's like we need that. And like I don't want this cage match bullshit, right? That we had. Oh, we're gonna fake. Oh, yeah, what are you gonna say to him? Inspired? I don't know. I respect JoJo. He's my friend. Like, dude, no, I don't want this fake scripted half-ass bullshit. The real shit. I want them to talk. I don't want them to be toxic, to be clear. We don't want to, increase toxicity in NA. I'm the next APA. I just talk shit to everybody. Like, no, I don't want that. Right? Like, I just want them to be real. I don't want them to go up there and like, fake a rivalry or anything. I want them to get pissed at somebody for being them. I want to see the Tom Brady level of pettiness where you slight him and he will not forget that. He will not forget it, and he's going to drive him to beat your ass the next time. That's what Double Lift had. That's what Bjergsen had, right? And that's what we need in the LCS. I don't need any more nice guys. We got plenty of nice guys. I'm glad. And like, it's not that APA and Jan aren't nice guys. They are.
they're really good,
They're
nice
great
people,
guys.
by the way. Yeah, like,
but guess what? Like, they also aren't taking your shit. They're not, and they're gonna give it back out to you. And dude, again, seeing that especially this last weekend, really culminate, and then watching UMT finally win a championship, right? And finally just seeing that level of emotion, I was like, okay, like,
oh man,
I like this team now.
Such a payoff for him. I mean,
so huge.
He's got like a career like sub 40% win rate. Carver Fisher over at Dig Zerto did a great interview with him about his process and how his perspective was very much like, I see losing as learning. He's like, so like, well, I've lost a lot. I've learned more than anybody. Like, and I think like that perspective, I mean, such an Iron Man perspective, just like, I mean, like, it's just the way that this guy turns, he spins straw into gold. Like his failures just become his strengths. And he gets it. Like, I love little like everyone's talking about how fun he is great, by the way. That's not just an on-camera thing. Like, that's exactly how he talks to us in the media room. Like when he comes up, like he's just a really friendly guy. But I love in his interviews when he's answering the interviews, he's looking at the crowd and he always says like he talks to him like it's his stream chat. Like he says, he's like, you know what, guys? I just love that. So it just like, it's like, it's funny and it's cute, but it's also like, he so understands the assignment. He's so here. He's here for himself, but he's also like, he understands the importance of being an entertainer and expressing yourself and just the importance of that human connection and authenticity. I mean, like he is like, for every time you hear someone like, oh, wish we didn't have imports, I'm like, he's that example of like, you would be depriving yourself of a great player and a great experience. And like, I mean,
all three of the guys on this team are.
And he went through the best junglers in our region. Like, he beat River, Blabber, Inspired. Yep. Like,
those are the
you earned it, buddy. Like, you are the. He's like, I'm the fucking king of LCS jungle. And yeah, dude, you did it. Like, and just, oh man, good stuff for him too. I'm really happy for him.
This whole team was, again, this wasn't like, I've been loving the storylines. The way NRG won, when EG won the way that they did, even that 100 Thieves team, right? The Golden Guardians team that went the way that they did, even this Cloud9 team, right? Like FlyQuest, like the top teams are really, really starting to be, I think, consistently interesting. And I'm loving that.
Yeah.
And I think I think it is appropriate for us to talk about Cloud9 and FlyQuest real quick.
I was gonna say, I'd be remiss if we didn't touch on what went wrong there and just kind of talked about their like overall. I mean, it was hard for me to, we've done a prediction for every game, Rob, but what I wasn't really able to predict for the finals because the C9 didn't get there, right? Like, I had no idea. Like, when Sunday came, I'm like, I'm just gonna watch. I have no idea what's gonna happen because
I was the same way.
I was so sure C9 was gonna put it together.
And
And if you were, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I don't know if you saw, they tweeted recently, "Expect the unexpected" on from their League of Legends account, and I'm like,
They're
bro, what are you guys
they're
doing?
baiting. No,
Yeah,
I mean, I guess they could replace somebody. I mean, really, I just we know last week we talked about sort of the Jekyll Hyde factor of C9, and I was telling you that we're going to find out this weekend if C9 is a team who just needed to like really get their like if they're capable of getting their shit together and they'll do it, or they're like there's a fundamental problem with how this team plays team-based League of Legends,
it's the
and
latter.
it's clearly the latter.
Yeah.
Because because Team Liquid, the reason why I think Team Liquid not just beat them but trounced them was because we saw Team Liquid had the superior team play, but they also individually, like Impact, made Fudge look like rookie Fudge, like it was rough. It was yeah, it was a gap, right? And the C9 team, when they're behind at 14 minutes, they are winless this year.
It's because they
Um,
don't know how to play. They don't know how to play
and
together as a
they
team.
Yeah, and it's just I was thinking like, oh, even if that happens, they'll still have enough to pull because again also Team Liquid did out exceed my expectations. So I thought that even if C9 didn't put together their team play, they'd still win. It would just be like maybe 3-2. I think I told you like if C9 isn't 3-1 or better Team Liquid, then FlyQuest wins the finals. Like,
Yeah,
but if C9 can 3-1 or 3-0 Team Liquid, I think they can beat FlyQuest. Instead, they couldn't even take a game from Team Liquid because, uh, I was pretty tepid on my I was one of the few people who was like, we'll see how this team comes together, like, and I feel a little vindicated for that because I think
yeah.
a lot of people are like, you're crazy. This is the best team. I'm like, they should be the best team. We don't know if that's going to happen. And it didn't. But again, I was saying this in like week 3 when they first started those losing games, right?
I
And I told
remember.
you, I'm like, I still think they're going to get it together and win the split. So this is even below my expectations. And to not even get to the finals, I mean,
Not to get to
I
MSI.
don't,
Let's not forget
yeah,
that they're not even going to MSI.
yeah, and it wasn't like, oh man, it's a shame that one thing happened. The series, it's like, no, they were outclassed in every sense of the word, every aspect of the game. They were outclassed 3 times in a row. Um,
And nobody looked
and
like they wanted to take over the game. Like nobody seemed like they wanted to actually. Sounds bad, but win. They were just playing not to lose, and TL was just kicking their butt up and down the court, right? Like they were so passive in the way that they were playing, in my opinion. It was embarrassing, and I think there has to be a change that comes. Something has to change. Now, it could
yeah,
just be like the style that they practice or something like that, right? I'm not necessarily going to call for heads because I don't know that that's the best way to solve this. But there needs to be like a come to Jesus moment, as it is called, right? Where they are just sat down and told, this is unacceptable. You guys have to learn to play together or you will not be playing together, right? Like,
yeah,
there's just no excuse. There is no excuse for them to do this. If they play as a team and even play at 75% of what they are capable of playing as,
yeah,
there is still no world where TL or FlyQuest or 100 Thieves or NRG or Dignitas, doesn't matter. Maybe Shopify beats them just because that's what Shopify does. They are the giant killers and can't kill anybody else. But I said it as a joke. But like for real, there's nobody who should be better than them. I still do. I still fully believe that. After watching these 2 games, I believe that they could not play together as a team, dude, and it was embarrassing. I mean, truly, I feel bad saying
yeah,
that. Like they're I know that like we're just guys here talking on a camera into a microphone, right? But like I was embarrassed for them, genuinely. I sat there and I was like, I cannot believe that Cloud9 cannot figure this out.
yeah, and it's no longer like a measure of it's not a matter of willingness. It's an inability to do so, right? And
Yeah.
what we have here, and I'm just curious because what we have here is we have 5 players who are individually very talented, who also, I think, have very specific styles, especially like in the way of like uh like Blabber. I consider Blabber kind of like the double lift of jungle, in terms of you are going to play the game a certain way when he's on the team,
Yep.
and you should be conscious of how your other pieces fit around him. Um, because he is a very good jungler, but I do think it is not that he's unwilling to play a different way, but just simply that his strengths lie in allowing him to do like League of Blabber. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You kind of live and die by what he does, and you need players who can work with that. But I don't know if that makes him the same level of like like leader. Like I don't know if this was necessarily like say what you want about the situation, but to find out that after TSM won the 2020 summer playoffs, I think it was, where Double Lift like was in Reggie's office, like banging down the door, like, no, we have to start Biofrost, not Treats. We're starting Biofrost. We have to start Biofrost. We have to start Biofrost. Right? Like just and like that leadership, that willingness to that desire. I'm not saying that C9 doesn't have a desire to win, but I can't imagine. I don't know who's like the spiritual leader of this team because they're
Yeah.
very good to get along with each other when things are going well, but like a good leader is able to step up and kind of like, and this is not a strategy conversation. I think I don't know what it is, but I don't think it's like I just don't know who is the guy who steps into. I think Berserker is kind of trying to be. We saw that clip. The I forget what their vlog thing is called, but Berserker was upset. He felt that there was like like the team didn't care if they lost. He punched a door. Like if you like
Oh, I didn't see
if
that. Okay.
oh yeah, no, yeah, okay, I got to I'll have to find it for you, but basically it was a clip of Berserker saying it's like he just feels like you guys like not that you're like okay with losing, but it's just like okay, we lose whatever. It's like you guys aren't angry about this, like, and then like someone says like, so what do you want to do about it? And then Berserker just like punches the door. Um, and I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, that's crazy." No. Like he's a competitor. He's frustrated. He knows what he's capable of,
They
and
need that.
not that that is something that is like missing from this team. And I think that strategy aside, I don't know if like Mithy is the coach to do that. I don't know. I don't know who kind of steps up for this team in that way, and that is a big thing. And that's a big part of team unity. And I don't know if any of these players are that type of guy. Like they're all really strong players, but you need someone to sort of unify and lead people when things are getting tough. Because whether there's a change made or not, we can agree that this team is much, much less than the sum of their parts right now.
They're the exact opposite of what TL and NRG have been.
Yeah, I think if there is a change, I think it has to be top lane, if I had to guess. I thought Fudge was pretty not that he was necessarily the problem with the team at any point. He was pretty mediocre in playoffs. I'm not even saying I think he should be replaced. I just think that if they feel a change needs to be made, it's either that or it's that Berserker's like, I'm done with this region, man. Peace. Like I hope that's not the case, but like I do think like it's likely that it's either top or bot that where there's a change. If there's a change, I would hope for there not to be a change, and maybe like I said, like a bring a Sven on in a coaching staff position or change something up because these players, I don't want them to change this roster, but something has to change.
They can't let Berserker leave. Like the LCS needs Berserker. And Jack or, Mark Z even needs to step in and make sure that he is wanting to stay. I mean, if it's literally just that this team has no passion,
I think that'd be Mark Z tampering, wouldn't it? But I get what you're saying.
well, no, he could leave that team if he wants, but he needs to stay in the region. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, they need, like, it's
Okay.
tampering technically, right? But, like, they really do need to make sure that their stars stay here. This is not the time to be losing people like Berserker or JoJo to LEC, right? Like, shit like that, right? Like, that can't
Yeah.
happen. And to be honest, that does mean somebody needs to lose their job. If I'm them, truly, oh man, I can't believe I'm about to say this. All right. I think it needs to be Sven back in bot lane with Berserker. Clearly, that's his
Mhm.
comfort. I think he's the guy who he trusts. It needs to be him. And then I think they need to go get your boy Licorice back. Look, if it's not working with the rest of the team, that is what it is. But you're not replacing JoJo, you're not replacing Blabber, and you're not replacing Berserker. I'm just telling you that, like, and it's not that I dislike Fudge, obviously. It's not that I dislike Vulcan. I love both of them, actually, quite a bit. Like, Vulcan has been one of the, better trash talkers in interviews in the past. I've always loved that about him. But, like,
Yeah, he keeps
dude,
100. Yeah,
just teach Sven how to play range supports. Pray that it's not in a range support only meta. And get Licorice back up there. Bring him back into the fold. And that team's going to Worlds. Because
yeah, I feel like we've seen the Berserker Sven ceiling at Worlds. Like Sven
that's
is
okay though.
not.
Because if they can't even make it to Worlds with Vulcan, it doesn't matter.
Well, sure,
Like
sure.
that's my point. Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I guess what I mean is like that's why I want them to stick with the roster because I don't think the roster itself is the issue. I think something about how it's working is the issue. And
but
if
that's
that
what I mean.
centers, if that comes down to one player, I guess if you're saying that like that, I don't know.
I'm not saying it's either of those players, but what I'm saying is you may be right. Like skill wise, there's not a better a better team in the LCS. There's not. I don't care what anybody says. This Team Liquid team is not better skill wise than Cloud9, right? But sometimes, dude, that was my whole first minute and a half rant. Sometimes it just comes down to being a better, to just being a better team that works together. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not convinced that Licorice isn't better than Fudge right now. So you can do that, and I don't think that Sven would be that much of a step down from Vulcan.
I think Licorice is better than like everybody. I think in almost any team, like
it's possible.
I think he'll come back and be fine. I'm just saying.
But that's my point though. Is it's like I think they don't want to lose Fudge because of what he means to this team and what he has been to this organization, right? He has been the guy basically through this full reset and everything. They may feel like they're letting him down, and that sucks. And I want to see teams stay together. But when you have a team that's as talented as this one is, and they can't figure it out, like if they don't have that fire in them to really like push themselves beyond and figure it out, if the only one is Berserker, which I doubt, but like if the only one's Berserker, right, who's punching walls and getting pissed off about it, and if he's like questioning the rest of his team, like, do you really even care? Then like
he is.
There is a fundamental issue with the competitiveness of your team, and you are playing a competitive game. Somebody has got to figure it the fuck out. You can't just sit there and be like, oh, they're so good, they'll figure it out. Oh, we're gonna go to best of threes in the summer, trying to manifest this. They'll figure it out in best of threes. It'll be fine. Oh, we'll make it to Worlds. We were able to almost make it to MSI, and we played like shit. Through top 3 teams make it anyways. Like, no, like cut that shit now. Be done with it. There's a big difference between having a team stick together just because a couple things didn't go their way and a team underperforming to the levels that Cloud9 did. Cloud9 did not. They went 0-6 in their last 2 playoffs. Like and JoJo had no kills in one of them. That's just unacceptable. Like, if I'm Jack, you want to talk about somebody storming down? Dude, look, Reggie never handled it the right way, obviously, but an owner should be pissed off. He should be going down into that team and freaking being like, what the hell is going on, guys? What is going on? I thought that was going to be Steve with this TL team. I really did. He's put his belief in these guys, and I was worried that I was like, man, they're going to finish like 5th or 6th. They're going to die in the freaking, lower bracket and just be done. They did the opposite. Cloud9 has got to figure it out.
FlyQuest. Always the bridesmaid, right? Like, I mean, Team Liquid was damn good, but I expected the finals to go 5 games for sure.
I was almost certain that it would. And FlyQuest just genuinely, they honestly, outside of that C9 series, it just feels like maybe this was a bad matchup for them against Team Liquid. I mean, they played almost the max amount of games. They played 9 games against Team Liquid in their 2 series. And the one series felt like, that first series felt like it could have gone either way. This one wasn't even close. honestly, to me. Like, they won that game, and I think it's just because they did what they needed to do, and I think they played that game well, but these finals were not as good as I was hoping. It felt like TL really had control over most of the series.
Yeah, and I thought FlyQuest drafting game one just wasn't it.
No.
I kind of thought that one was kind of dead in the water, but the rest of the games were relatively competitive. But I so I spoke to Blippo after the series, and he felt that very much that the series loss was on him, and I feel like that's often what a veteran would just say, because right, and uh, but I kind of asked him to elaborate on that, and he was very willing to do so. Despite having just lost, he was telling me that oftentimes he would be on a pick where he could bring something to the team. He could be an initiator of some kind, whether it was an actual engage in a team fight or just putting himself in a position to provide for the team. When they beat C9 3-0, he was on Renekton and Gragas every game, because those
Yeah.
champions do have resilient laning phases and have their own agency to a decent degree, get sustained. But crucially, they're able to make big team fight plays.
Sure.
Um, it really, really disrupt the back line of the opposing team. And I think we kind of saw how much Whippo sort of does for this team on FlyQuest. When the game they won, his Renekton was hit the flanks. You know, he had that flash flank over the Raptor pit. So much of it was him being a disruptive force and creating the space for FlyQuest to beat Team Liquid when it did work. But Whippo told me himself, Impact was so ferocious in lane compared to when they had previously played, that he's like, I got insecure and I wanted to pick things that would help me, because I felt like I couldn't be resilient enough in lane because of how Impact was playing compared to how I was playing. He's like, I picked Flash Ghost on Olaf. I didn't take Ghost Teleport. They got my summoners early, and that kind of lost us that lane. He's like, usually I would take Ghost Teleport. I'd be able to make a play or make up for it in some way on the map. And this isn't to say that I think Whippo is entirely at fault, nor is it to say that I think that that FlyQuest needs him to succeed. But what I do think is that we saw multiple instances of Team Liquid having strong team plays through coordination through multiple members in different forms and dynamics, multiple scenarios, different factors at play, right? And it almost seemed to me like FlyQuest is a good team, but really they have certain conditions that need to go right. Whippo was the best top laner throughout all of the regular season. We didn't really see him put on the back foot the way that Impact consistently was. And that he even said, he's like, I picked champions, like he's like, I picked Gangplank because I thought I could, I thought I could scale and the lane was going fine. He's like, and the lane was going fine. But he's like, but then I wasn't able to have the same amount of, impact on the rest of the map and stuff like that. Like, and he even said, he's like, I wish I had just picked Renekton and Gragas like we did against Cloud9, because I think I could have done more, but I was worried about my own play against Impact, because Impact was kind of taking him to the cleaners, here and there, right? Like,
Yeah.
So I think it speaks towards a couple things. One, just how good Impact is right now, but also the fact that FlyQuest really does need this top side to be just really, really. They just need to be good, like well fortified
Yeah.
for things to go right. And that isn't like necessarily a slight on the bot lane, who I thought improved a lot and had some great games in playoffs, but it's clear that the top lane, the top side needs to go well for them to win. Their bot lane's not going to necessarily lose them as many games, but they're also not going to be the ones to turn things around if things are going bad on the top side, I think.
Well,
And
he needs to have a playmaking ability. I think that they both do. I
yeah,
think Inspired and Whippo have to be able to make plays. And I was
yeah,
just looking at it, playing things like the Gangplank, like the Olaf, they can individually do stuff, but can they actually
yeah,
make plays for the team? The Gangplank can, but you got to scale so late before he's really actually any good.
yeah.
Like, there's a
And
reason why we don't see Gangplank pretty much at all anymore. Um,
yeah, I'm glad you brought up GP too, because like that was the pick that he said is like, it was like a microcosm of what was wrong with me that game. He's like, he's like the best example of me picking for myself instead of the team, because
mhm.
then he's like, if you looked at our gold graph, like I was ahead on GP, to Impact's Twisted Fate. He's like, but we saw like that game where I was ahead. I had gotten tier 1 tower, like I was tier 2 was like below half health, but the rest of my team was losing. I was like 4,000 gold ahead of all my teammates because that's just gangplank and that's not going to do anything. And he's like, I need to be able to bring something to the team. I need to have a presence for the team. It doesn't. And we saw like he's like the gameplay game was perfect because we lost. He's like, but I was strong, but we lost. He's like, and that was exactly the problem. He's like, I feel like I lost us this game when I picked for myself instead of for others. And I thought that was really very honest, but also like very eye opening to actually how vital Whippo is to the success of this team. Not taking anything away from how great Inspired and Jensen have been, but a lot of their he really needs to be a strong presence in the team fights. If you saw the communication, they did a little comms check after game 2 when they won, and he's so vocal in this
Yeah.
Renekton flank fight, and it's just he's a huge part of this team, more than I think we even really realized. And we saw him sort of made mortal against Impact, and things just did not go, um, FlyQuest's way. I don't think any of us didn't expect them to lose, but even if we did, even if someone was like, you know what, Teal looked great against C9, I don't think anyone had 3-1 over FlyQuest. I certainly didn't. I said I thought 5 games, so
I did as well. I was gonna put out on Twitter a 3-2 victory for FlyQuest.
yeah, I
That was
think
gonna
that
be
like
my guess.
if I had to have thrown something down, I probably would have put that too, like. And so just really surprising. But I think like FlyQuest is a good team when they hit their conditions, whereas we saw Team Liquid like handle multiple different situations and they were able to generate leads from everywhere on the map, and through different ways, whether it be through like strong CVT laning in the bot lane, Impact just being a monster, but also just through like macro and superior jungle tempo. Whereas like FlyQuest is a good team when topside goes well, and I think it'll be interesting to see how they match up against teams who can maybe withstand Whippo's pressure a little bit, or junglers who can keep up with Inspired's pace and pressure.
We're gonna find out. MSI is gonna be right around the corner. LEC is in there. I think everybody's kind of in their playoffs right now, except for us. So we'll get to
Mm-hmm.
see who else will be locking their way into MSI. We'll make sure to continue to cover that. By the way, we are going to be moving this show to once a week, until there's action again for the LCS. Just because Nick and I have insanely busy schedules right now. Um, but hopefully we'll be coming back with a lot. And if things pick up again, maybe we'll record 2 episodes those weeks. We have so much to talk about. We could probably fill like a show every day, honestly, with an hour's worth of content. But I just don't think we're not at that point yet. Unfortunately, we just don't have that time. We're hoping that we'll get there one day. It's another reason why we want the LCS to succeed, is because it helps this show too, stuff like this. So just letting you guys know, we don't know exactly what day we're going to be releasing yet. Nick and I will talk about that off this, but do just keep an eye out for the next episode. It will be sometime next week. But we did want to make sure that we got together to discuss the finals. Again, huge congrats to Team Liquid. It really was super fun to watch them. I have a lot of hope now for this team. And I love the fact that I truly believe we have 4, maybe somewhere between 4 and I think 6 really good LCS teams, any of whom I think could win the LCS if they hit a run, kind of like this TL team did. And we'll be back. There's going to be more League of Legends coming soon. MSI. When does MSI start again, Nick? I think it's end of April ish.
I thought it was May, but I'm honestly not sure.
Is it May? Okay, I can't remember. I know that they like literally only leave like 2 weeks in between that and like the start of the LCS. So you might be right. It might be early May. But either way, like I said, we're gonna be doing new episodes. We're gonna actually go over our ballots next week. We're going to kind of discuss some of the things that we decided, how other people did on theirs. Really excited about that one, by the way, because Nick betrayed me at support with a very specific Ole man that he did not place in the spot that I thought we were going to put him. So
Wait, what?
maybe it was reported incorrectly, but don't worry,
Maybe.
we're gonna save
I don't.
this.
Okay,
We're
yeah,
gonna
because we
save
need to talk
this.
about that. I don't know what that's about.
This is good. I'm teeing them up, so
Okay, okay.
it'll be great. I'm not actually mad, by the way. It was just really funny. Because we
No,
had
I'm
such
just
a long
confused.
discussion. You'll see. You guys will see. Don't worry. It's going to
Okay.
be great.
All right.
But no, make sure you check back next week. We're going to go over ballots. We're going to go over all of that. And, we'll continue on. I think the next week after that, we'll probably do MSI. Unless if we're really feeling great and time is really open for us, maybe we'll do 2 next week. But just kind of stay in the flow with us for right now. We're still kind of figuring this out. We know how we're doing stuff during the season, but out of the seasons when we really got to kind of find a new stride. So bear with us. There will be content coming out, but we really do appreciate it. Please let us know in the comments below if there are things that you want us to go over too. If it's just that Nick and I need to get together for 30 minutes and just kind of discuss something that you guys really want to talk about, we are happy to do that. Let us know. The more interaction you guys give us, the easier chance we have to probably answer what you need. So we do appreciate all of you who are watching. Remember to like and subscribe so you're not missing any of this. And yeah, guys, with that, we'll catch you on the next one.